everybody, and welcome to Morning Star Revelation and Circle of Eden podcast. I am Jenness White, and I am joined by my co-host, Jordan Oliver. Jordan, it has been an amazing day today. We've been able to interview the most incredible people, and but the highlight of our day and to end our day today is a very special guest and friend of ours that we love so much, and we're just so blessed to have with us, and that is Donne Clement Petruska. Jordan, I just want to say thank you for you being here. I know last time Donne came on, I had the privilege of your company as well. And so we always love to have Donne on, everybody. She's just such a wealth of knowledge and truth in this time as she talks about her dad's prophetic words. So I'm excited. Jordan, are you excited for today?
Oh my gosh, Jen. Yes. And already just our conversation before airing, we always say we have that and then we say, now it's time for the show, but that could be a whole, it's just, there's so much happening right now and so much momentum in this. Well, as we've talked about so much, we really felt we're shifting, with this new year into the harvest season, that the time of the separation, that's something that I remember hearing from the Lord in about the end of November of 2025. He said, the separation has happened and now we're shifting into the harvest. So you can feel this momentum, this different shift taking place. And so I can't wait to hear from Donne and hear what she is receiving and decoding from her father's prophecies.
Well, let's go ahead and bring her on because we've only got an hour, and I know we'll use every single bit of that because we love hearing from Donne. But for anybody who doesn't know, Donne Clement Petruska, she is the vice president of House of Destiny Network, where they have many shows that I encourage everybody to tune into. That is Code Breakers, Prophetic Rewind Analysis, Gathering of the Dangerous, and more. Most of you know from our show, we have Doobie Sabo on each week with a report out of Israel and the Middle East. And so Doobie also has the show on House of Destiny Network where he does Israel Update. And so we have a lot of connections with House of Destiny, and we just love the people there. So everybody, please be sure to tune in there any chance you get. And we're going to go ahead and bring on Donne. Donne, hello. It is just such a privilege and honor always having you on here. And we're grateful and thankful that you continue to come on with us. We love having you.
Oh, I love you guys. Thank you so much for inviting me and having me. And it is always so easy to just sit back and chat with you. And
that's why, I got my iced coffee. Jordan has coffee. Do you have
it?
I had coffee before.
Yeah.
I downed it before I came and sat down here. I actually have a new coffee machine. My husband got me an espresso machine. And so I don't go to Starbucks anymore.
Yeah.
I'm giving them our money.
Yeah, that's right.
He was not happy, but I needed that good espresso. So he bought me an espresso machine and I'm making it myself. So it's nonstop coffee all day and night because I'll get over here and I'll have my dad on a computer and I'll have the news on the TV and I'm on the phone and I'm just decoding these prophecies. And I'm telling you, you said it is the time for the harvest. That's really struck me because from the very beginning of the year, it was definitely different.
Yes.
And everything just started. It was almost like we were on a roller coaster going up to the top. And then January came and we went.
That's the perfect description. That is what it feels like. Yes.
And you had Maduro in Venezuela and all that happened. The Iranians rising up and all that we're still in the middle of. So many things. The Epstein files.
Yes.
Oh my goodness gracious! It's especially in the middle of that we get this ice storm, and we're frozen into our houses.
Yes,
it's all very biblical.
Yes, yeah,
it is, and it's nonstop. It's like every day. What's going to happen next? Right now, a lot of our military is off the coast of Iran, Donne, and I know we were talking a lot about your dad's prophetic words regarding Iran, and I think that's a topic on a lot of people's minds. So if we want to start there today, because I know you've been decoding a lot about Iran specifically. So what can you tell us?
Well, the thing about Iran is it goes back all the way to the beginning with my dad. Because when we moved to Texas from South Africa in 1992, it was around 93, Dad had an accident where he broke his wrists. And that is where God showed him a vision. Things really changed after that moment for my dad. His prophetic gift was just increased so much after this experience. But he broke his wrists in an accident. I was 13 years old. I was with him. I witnessed the accident. And he had a vision of a coming enemy to the west. And he called it the beast of the east. And again, if you listen to the prophecies, you'll hear, even in the 9/11 prophecy in 1996, he prophesied 9/11. And in that prophecy, he speaks about overcoming the beast of the east. And in 1993, when he had that experience, he had a series of visions. He heard a sound like he'd never heard before. And he saw the warrior, what he called the warriors of the new millennium. And he said they would be unchurched, not religious, covered in tattoos and piercings, not looking the part of a Christian, but they would be a prophetic Christians, but a prophetic people who would have to go to war or battle against the beast of the east. And, you know, at the time I was 13, I wasn't paying attention, but over the years, that I came to understand what that meant, and also from things he said, because he prophesied about it over and over again. The beast of the east, not just being in the east, it's the Iranian regime, and the Ayatollahs who run that regime are 12ers. So they have a very specific eschatology that, for instance, Sunnis don't believe in. The Saudi Arabians don't believe this. That's why you have a split with the Saudi Arabians and the Iranians, for instance. They're all Muslims, but they're split. But after Muhammad died, he had, most people probably know this, I'm just rehashing in case. It was who was going to be the successor. And so that's where it split when Muhammad died. So the Saudi Arabians and those ones over there, they're Sunni. Qatar, Dubai, Omar, all those people, they're Sunnis. Now you go the other side, you've got Iran, Al-Qaeda. I don't know, actually, I'm not sure about Al-Qaeda. It gets confusing. Anyway, they're split. And so they're not really supposed to be together. And he saw a union actually between Iran and Saudi Arabia, which started in 2023. I only found that out later. But the beast of the East is this extremist Islamism. And they're, like I said, they're called 12ers, and they believe that the great Imam is going to return with Jesus as his lieutenant. And Jesus is going to scold all of us because we were wrong. But they have an eschatology, and it is in their constitution of the Iranian regime. And I have to say, we have to separate the Iranian regime from the people, because the people of Iran are not, number one, they're not Arabs. If you ever see, you'll notice Khamenei in Iran wears the black, but sometimes you see them in white. What that means is if they have black, they are of Arabic or Arab descent. They're not Persians. So in Iran, the majority of the population are Persian, but not all. There's Kurds, there's a number of other groups. That's why they're not Persia. They're Iran. And that was decided before the regime came in or whatever, because I don't know all the details of it, but because it's more than just Persians. But that region over there is so much biblically has happened there. Daniel was over there, and he's buried in Iran, by the way. Esther and Mordecai, their tombs are in Iran. You can go to Iran today, although you probably wouldn't want to today, but hopefully one day. I was telling General Flynn that when I texted him about all this going on in Iran, and I said, I want to go, but I couldn't go now. I would be arrested. I wouldn't even be allowed in the country. But this is who the beast of the East is. And it's a corrupted, it's not just about Islam, but this extremist Islam. And Dad saw the dangers on the Sunni side as well. He actually saw that Saudi Arabia would be hiding something. They would be caught with their pants down. And that that they would join up. He didn't say it directly, but you can deduce that from the prophecy that they would unite with Iran and Russia. And that's where it comes in, because the beast of the East is not just the Islamists, but the Islamists with the communists. And the reason that you had the revolution in 1979 was that progressive liberals in Iran did not want a monarchy anymore. And so they joined with the Islamists and the Mujahideen that I was telling you about before the show. The Mujahideen were part of that too at the time. They overthrew the Shah with the help of the West. So you had European leaders, I think it was France specifically, and Carter. And they assisted in removing the Shah of Iran and they flew Khomeini, who was the first Ayatollah, the first whatever he's called, supreme leader. He was the first one. Now they were a small fringe group in Iran that didn't have a lot of influence. That influence grew because it was propped up by our intelligence agencies in the Cold War, because back then they were using a lot of these Islamist extremists in the fight against the Soviet Union. But that even Saddam Hussein helped. But that all soured later. And there's a lot to that story. I don't need to explain all of it. But the point is that the joining of communism with Islam is a very dangerous thing. And what happened in Iran is all those progressives and liberals, the way you see them now, the gays for Palestine, and you think, how are they? That's what happened in Iran. And that's how they were actually able to succeed in overthrowing the Shah and taking over that country. But the Persian people are, there were Muslims there for a long time, but it was not the majority religion. The Shah of Iran, people could be Muslim if they wanted to, and there were mosques and stuff, but it wasn't, he didn't run the country under Sharia law or any kind of Islamic law. And at the time, nobody wanted monarchies anymore. They were trying to get rid of those kind of things. And so that's where that happened. But as soon as the Islamic regime took control in Iran, they murdered all of those progressives, all of the liberals and the communists who had worked with them and they were lied to. You can see newspaper clippings of young girls cheering in Iran that they'd overthrown the Shah. And those very girls, one of them was beheaded and the other one had to flee Iran and is living in Europe somewhere now. And so you have a diaspora of Iranians who left. And so what we're witnessing right now, my dad, God was showing him those things all the way from when he first moved to America. And he moved to America because God told him he had to be a prophetic voice to America. We were in Africa. There was plenty for him to do there as a minister, but God told him to come to America. And so our whole, my mom, my dad, all of us, we moved here, we immigrated legally. And we're very grateful to be here and to be able to live and work in this country. And so our family, we've always just wanted to help. However we can contribute to and help, that is what God called us to do. And so that's why we came. But God was showing him that from the very beginning, the beast of the East and the warriors of the new millennium that would rise up to overcome them. And so over the years, God showed him many things about Iran. And he showed him that eventually hundreds of thousands of Christians would be free in Iran. And God showed him not only the conversions that were taking place, and how Jesus is with the Iranian people, even as they protest in the streets now. The reason that is able to happen is because you have enough of them that have converted to Christianity. And that's why you see them burning the mosques down. They're not just mad about the economy. They are upset about the finances, but it's not just that. They're not Muslim and they don't want to live under the Islamic regime anymore. They are shouting, to Jesus, to Christ. And you see them calling for Pahlavi because he's the son of the Shah who was exiled. And so that's why they call for Reza Pahlavi now. And he's stepped up. And, he can't live in Iran. He was exiled. He hasn't been there since he was a teenager. when his family left. But that is the name that they're crying for. And he's saying, he's not going to come in and be the king. He's going to come in and manage the situation so that the Iranian people can vote and choose what kind of a government they want. And so he's going to facilitate that without becoming a king. And, and he doesn't really want to do that. He doesn't want to be the king. He'd be quite happy to live here in America. And so it's a very sad story of what happened there. And people here need to really take warning, because exactly what happened there is happening here. And this is why you see the Iranian people freaking out. And anybody in the diaspora, the Iranian people that live here do not like the woke left. You'll find the majority of them are Trump supporting conservatives.
Yes.
They're not the same as Arabs. It's all Middle East, so we tend to just lump it all together. But each of those countries are a different culture and a different people. And so you have with the Islamic invasion that's happened for a long time. You want to talk about colonizing? They still have slavery in some of these countries.
Oh yeah.
And you see what's happening to the West. They want to beat you over the head with the slavery in America, but actually, it was the West. There's no excusing participating, but that was something that was going on for thousands of years. You can read about slaves in the Bible. They have presented, and this is by design, presented this. You're going to feel guilty for all these things, even though we're still doing them. In Mauritania, in Africa, right now, there is a slave trade. There's at least 900,000 enslaved people. If a woman has a baby, her child belongs to her slave owner. That's happening today.
Right.
I'm bringing that up because of the hypocrisy of the situation. And that is an attack upon the West that has been done before and was successful in Iran.
That's the key. It's a plot, and it was done before, and it was successful. And that's why they don't want to teach history in school anymore. They just want to, teach a bunch of woke ideology, because if they read history, they would see that this is the exact same blueprint.
Yes, that's how they took over Iran. And now, almost 50 years later, the Iranian people are begging. They are in a prison and they are begging. But again, this is a very complex situation. I know President Trump wants to help them, but it's not like Venezuela. They can't just go sweeping in and grab the Ayatollah and it's over. Iran is a huge, I'm sure you know, but if you haven't seen, go look on a map, anybody watching, and look at how huge Iran is. Massive. You want to talk about a giant. If you see Israel and Iran, definitely like little David and the giant. So that it's not going to be, Trump can't just go in without it being a major war, which we don't want that. Unless it's, unless we have no choice anymore. And I know Trump is very concerned about nuclear weapons.
He is. And we're keeping a close eye on that situation, because a lot of our military is off the coast of Iran, and people are wondering what's going to happen next. I think they're meeting again this week to negotiate. On Friday was the last I heard.
He's negotiating for nuclear. I thought we took care of their nuclear thing. So
I know.
don't think any of it. I think they're
I'm not sure either. I know. I'm just keeping an eye on it, but he's sending those troops in. Yeah.
I think there's a little bit of a show going on. But, getting back to my dad, is he saw that they would ultimately be free in Iran. And so what we've been looking at is what I brought up to you earlier, is the crossover between Bible prophecy. Because, if you're a Christian, even if you're not a Christian, I'm sure you've heard Gog and Magog.
Right.
Because there are Bible prophecy teachers who teach and who have come to understand, or they believe, Magog to be Russia, the north. So it's Moscow, as I was telling you guys earlier, Moscow is directly above Jerusalem. And my dad prophesied Russia will join hands with Iran, Syria, and gather as many nations as possible to come against the Jews and to come against this Christian nation. Now, that's a direct quote. He prophesied that in March of 2014. He was shouting about, you know nothing, my dad, when he was prophesying. You're not supposed to know. And that always got me in that prophecy, because he's shouting. He's in the middle of prophesying all this stuff. He sees Russia joining hands with Iran, Syria. He sees the Malaysian jet, and he says, you don't know. You're not supposed to know. And he goes on to prophesy about the intelligence agencies. So in 2014, you would have been listening to him prophesy that and be like, what is he even talking about? But now, I mean, just with what we've seen with the Epstein files and intelligence agencies, or things that have come out in our own FBI, or with the CIA doing opening portals and doing rituals, demonic rituals, which resulted in Roe versus Wade, those kind of things. So if you move forward into where we are now, when my dad, the way I see it is when my dad's saying, you don't know and you're not supposed to know. Well, what would we not be supposed to know? Something classified that isn't necessarily bad. For instance, the reporters will ask Trump, well, what are you going to do about Iran? He's like, well, I'm not going to tell you. Because if he tells you, he's telling Iran.
Right.
And so there are things that we're not supposed to know just because of safety, just logic. Our enemies would know our secrets, and the only way they can communicate it. Again, Trump can't call us. Each and every one of us, hey, listen.
Right.
We just have to trust this. And that's what's been hard for me. I've been upset with Trump. I even did I love Trump, and I know God chose him to do what he's doing right now. But along the way, I don't feel he's above being criticized, because he's also human and he's not perfect, and he's not going to do it. When my dad, like, people will bring Trump up to me, but my dad prophesied specific things about Trump. The relationship with Israel and restoring the fortunes of Zion, the death to debt that was surrounding that, but also that he would build the walls of protection around this nation. He's doing that. He's done it. Our border is secure. About the economy and how well it would do. That's what's going on. 2 terms, that he would serve 2 terms. That he would be a Christian, and what he would do for Christians. I'm not going to quote all of it because there's tons of these prophecies, but ultimately there were specific things that Trump was going to accomplish. And he did see stuff about Iran in there. And he even in 2013, there was a broadcast he did where he replicated a sound he was hearing, a new kind of music, and that it would be a mix of Middle Eastern and Western music. And, that's something that it would require a uniting of things that are no longer united, and it's something new. And so when I see that, I think of the Iranian people, and were they to be freed from the prison that they are in, what could God do through them? In Jeremiah 49, it talks about God breaking the bow of Elam. Now, Elam is in the region of Iran, in the south part of Iran. It used to be just its own place, but that's in Iran. And in Jeremiah 49, God speaks through Jeremiah about breaking the bow of Elam. Let me get it. I think I probably have it open in my Bible app here.
That's interesting.
It's really important right now.
Yeah.
While you're looking that up too, I want to bring up about the flag. We talked about them raising the new flag here recently, and it's known as the Lion and Sun flag. And it's a horizontal green, white, and red tricolor flag featuring a golden lion holding a sword with the sun rising behind it. And Jordan and I, everybody, on a prior podcast, we were talking about this and everything going on. And I felt this nudge from the Holy Spirit to look up that flag, this new flag that is a symbol basically of their liberty. And I said, isn't that interesting? It's a lion and a sun, and you have so many converting to Christianity, because we know Jesus is often represented by the Lion of Judah, and he's the sun. And so it's funny, the symbolism there.
Yes,
very prophetic.
And Dad prophesied about the Damascus Road conversions, but also the underground church in Iran and how it was growing and how strong it was, and in China as well. And so, and all of that, hang on, I'm just looking to see if I can find that verse, because it's, who was it? I think it was Monkey Works brought it to my attention first. He's back on YouTube, so I was watching him, and it was when all the Iran stuff first happened. So I wanted to see, because he does the flight stuff, and I wanted to see what was happening. And he brought this on. He brought this up. I think I found it. Here it is. It's Jeremiah 49. You could start at verse 34, the judgment of Elam. The word of the Lord that came to Jeremiah the prophet against Elam in the beginning of the reign of Zedekiah, king of Judah, saying, thus says the Lord of hosts, behold, I will break the bow of Elam, the foremost of their might. Against Elam I will bring the four winds from the four quarters of heaven and scatter them toward all those winds. Now that has happened. The diaspora of Iran is bigger than any other country in the world. There are so many Iranians that have fled Iran in all directions. So Iranians are here in America, and they're all over Europe because they had to flee. If there's a guy he's got a YouTube channel, and he does news, and he's really good. He's a Christian Iranian living in England, and his name is Tousi, Tousi. And I recommend following him on YouTube. I've been telling all our people, go follow Tousi TV, because he has been the quickest to get information out. But his dad is in Iran, and his dad is stuck there. They won't let his father leave, but he was able to escape with his mother. So he's one example of that, scattered to the four winds. And there shall be no nations where the outcasts of Elam will not go. And that's why you have such an outcry that's so loud of Iranians around the world, because they've had to leave. So they're everywhere. And for I will cause Elam to be dismayed before their enemies and before those who seek their life. I will bring disaster upon them, my fierce anger, says the Lord, and I will send the sword after them until I have consumed them. And then he says, I will set my throne in Elam and will destroy from there the king and the princes. Now, there's only one other time in the Bible where God says he's going to set his throne anywhere, and that's Jerusalem. And if you look at what's happening between the Jews and the Iranians right now, so you've got the regime, but this is a foreign religion, an Arab religion that was forced upon the population. And again, they were tricked. A bunch of progressives and communists, because that was popular at the time, with the Cold War going on, all that. That is what entrapped them. And so again, when you see the young people here being fed this, America's this evil empire, and the colonizers, and that's all being deliberately fed into the minds of the youth in the universities. You know who are the top funder of our universities? One of the top people that sends the most money to our universities is Qatar.
Huh.
And so pay attention to Qatar too, because that's also part of it. But this is, and the very last verse, 39 says, but it shall come to pass in the latter days, I will bring back the captives of Elam. And so there's a promise, not just my dad seen stuff. In the Bible, the prophet Jeremiah made a promise to the Iranian people that we see crying for freedom today, and an example for us to say we shouldn't do that. And I'm bringing all of this up, not just because it's in the news, but because all along the way with my dad's prophecies, again and again and again, God showed him about Iran. And that the spirit I saw a map the other day, and it had an image of an octopus over the map, and it was an animated image, and it was like an evil looking octopus with its tentacles wrapped around the country, and anybody trying to intervene was getting knocked by the hands. And I thought visually that was a really good representation of the spirit that is over that region. And it is ancient and it is brutal. And it's going to take more than just a little military crew going in and capturing Khomeini, because as soon as he's gone, his son's there. And also, there's 90 million people living in Iran. And there's a few million of them that are cool with the regime, that are part of the IRGC and the Basij. And these are because their military is different. Like they have a military like we do, but then the Ayatollah have their own military, and that's what the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps is, the IRGC. So when you see the IRGC, it's not the same as there's a military, but then there's a special military, and their whole thing is to guard and protect the Ayatollah and the supreme leader and that. And so it's a very good system as far as efficiency. And they have complete control. I mean, you can see that they don't care. They'll shoot the Iranian people.
Yeah.
They had militias coming over the border from Iraq of terrorists, ISIS, Al-Qaeda guys, and it looked just like October 7th in Israel. They had the Toyota truck and they're on the back with it. And those guys aren't even from there. They don't care about the Iranian people. They just care about killing. That's what they do. They get paid to kill. They'll kill whoever as long as they get paid. So those guys showed up because they couldn't, because the regime is weakened because of Operation Rising Lion and Midnight Hammer that we saw happen last summer with Israel and America. Dad prophesied, watch what God does in Israel and the United States of America at the same time. My dad prophesied Trump, but he also prophesied Bibi Netanyahu, and prophesied to Bibi. Like there were times during Rising Lion last year, we found a prophecy to Bibi that we shared with everybody at the time, and Dad shouts, "Bibi Netanyahu, Bibi Netanyahu, you're worried about Iran." And he says, what did he say? He said, whatever it is, go ahead and do it. You're not sure, but you need to go ahead and do it. And that was really interesting at the time. And then he warned him about Saudi Arabia as well. He said, you're worrying about Iran, worry about Saudi Arabia. And traditionally they've been enemies, but they made a deal in 2023. And you'll see in the news now, Saudi Arabia doesn't want to open their airspace for America or for Israel.
I saw that.
So Israel can't, it's difficult. Maybe Doobie shared this with you. I don't know, but it's difficult for Israel to get there if the airspaces aren't open.
Right.
If airspace isn't open to their military to get to Iran. So you have Saudi Arabia, Qatar, maybe Oman with the other. That's who's trying to negotiate with the Trump administration right now for the Iranian regime. And they have their own reasons. They don't want a democracy in Iran. They don't like it. Like they don't like the Shia terrorist jihadis. They don't like them either. But they have kingdoms and monarchies. And if Iran is free and becomes a democracy, number one, they're going to be dealing with Israel and America as far as oil and resources. And that relationship is a threat to the other Middle Eastern countries like Saudi Arabia, because then people will see, oh, Iran's doing well. They've got a democracy. Look how fruitful it is, because that's how Iran used to be. Iran used to be a friend of the West. It was a beautiful and very wealthy country. And so the fact that that their money isn't worth anything over there right now says a lot, because that means all their money, there's a lot, has gone to terrorism. It's gone to funding Hamas and the Houthis in Yemen and Hezbollah. They're funding all of them. So you'll find that when the funding is cut, that terrorism will start to dissipate.
Absolutely.
Oh, go ahead, Jen. Sorry.
Oh, no, you go ahead. If you had a question about that, I wanted to ask about the Board of Peace too and where that plays in, but you go first if you've got anything else on Iran. Well,
I'm just curious, Danae, if you know if Turkey, because isn't Turkey a hub too of the? Are you getting any? Is there anything important about that right now? About
ISIS. Okay, so they put al-Jilani in to lead Syria. right? And Al-Jilani is ex-ISIS.
Okay.
I don't know who that guy is that Trump's got over there working with them, but I don't know if they're telling Trump everything, because last week, I shouldn't say that, because obviously he's the president, he knows. And there's lots we don't know. But Erdogan opened his borders. That's Turkey. Erdogan opened his borders, and Al-Jilani, they went in and freed all those Syrian prisoners and started slaughtering the Kurds. And now you got to remember, the Kurds over there in Syria are the ones that were fighting ISIS. They've been fighting ISIS this whole time, but they had the women. And the women, all virgins, would go after the ISIS terrorists. And the terrorists were terrified of them, because if a virgin kills you, you don't get your virgins in heaven. And so these Kurdish soldiers, virgins, were going after ISIS, and they have been a force to be reckoned with in the ISIS era. And so there's a lot going on there. But Turkey is also in Bible prophecy as well. And so we kind of are seeing that stage being set. And, you see the Board of Peace, and they're literally saying peace and safety. You're thinking, oh my gosh, Trump, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I've had people like, is he the Antichrist? But it's not. If you read, you have to know the word, you have to know the scripture. The Antichrist confirms a covenant. So there is a stage being set right now, but it's supposed to be. It was prophesied. So It doesn't mean like Trump is now the Antichrist or Trump is bad. Trump is actually blinded to a lot of this. I think he just doesn't understand. And he means well. And I don't know if this Board of Peace is even going to be successful, but it ties into what my dad prophesied about the UN.
Right.
My dad prophesied that the UN would be abolished. God says, I will abolish it. And he prophesied that in 2005. And it was actually the first prophecy video I ever put up on my YouTube. Was dad prophesying about the abolishment of the UN. He said a lot of other stuff in that prophecy too, but that's the key, because what's happening here is Trump pulling out of the funding from the UN. They're within a week are like, we're bankrupt. There's no more money if America's not paying into it. And Trump's saying, I'm not paying into it. I'm going to do this Board of Peace. And dad, in the prophecy, he saw that God said the United Nations has housed Judas, and I will abolish it. I will abolish it. There will be no more United Nations, but God says there will be something where I'll take care of the refugee. The refugee will be taken care of, but there's going to be no more United Nations. And he saw that there would be something else. But I don't know, because my dad's perspective wasn't end times, even though he obviously knew, but that wasn't what his motivation was. Sometimes you'll find in the prophecies, I know he wasn't thinking of that or meaning that, but God meant for certain little hints to come through in those prophecies that are connected to eschatology, biblical end times eschatology. And it's really unavoidable at this stage. Once Israel became a nation in 1948, it's just so much prophecy has been fulfilled as far as that is concerned. And there are so many different opinions, and it can get really difficult, and it's hard to follow. And so I struggle. But my mom, in like 2010, God really put it on her heart to start to study those things again. And she had Chuck Missler come and meet my dad. And Chuck Missler he's passed away now, but he was he was a physicist who taught eschatology, Bible eschatology, from a physicist's perspective. So I recommend Chuck Missler. Like, anybody who wants to learn about this stuff, just look. He's on all over YouTube. You can look up Chuck Missler. He'll tell you, don't read Genesis first, read Revelation, and then read Genesis. And he really will teach you from a scientific perspective. And historically, he was just a brilliant man. But he came and did a whole teaching series at the House of Destiny. And this was probably, I think, like 2 years before my dad got sick. And what was happening with my dad when he was prophesying is sometimes he would just prophesy one of those verses, not meaning to. So my dad's not meaning to, but it's coming out. And I see that as an indication of the timing. And we don't know exactly the time. And I'm really not about trying to guess when Jesus is coming back, I'm cool. Whenever it happens, great.
Right.
I'm happy. Until then, I've got a job to do. For me personally, I got to make sure everybody hears these prophecies.
Yeah.
And be praying with and just trying to unite Americans, because the enemy that has come against America has been from within.
Yeah.
And it is very, it's scary, because there's a lot of similarities to what happened with Iran. So, and the thing is that the Iranian Revolution happened in 1979, which is the year I was born. So for as long as I have been alive, they have been, and I don't know if you know about this, 2009, the Iranian people tried to rise up, and Obama turned his back on them. And Trump was very critical of Obama at the time in his handling of that situation. And so there's been uprisings that keeps happening and happening and happening. And my dad prophesied that it would. And he saw ultimately that hundreds of thousands of Christians would be free in Iran and more. I'm actually going to be releasing a new video on my YouTube channel probably in about a week or so. It's taking a lot of work, but I'm putting together every time he prophesied about Iran, and I'm going all the way back as far as I can. I don't have video of the Warrior of the New Millennium prophecy from 93. Nobody had cell phones with cameras back then. The only way you were getting video of my dad is if the church he was speaking at had a camera. Even the Trump prophecy, when he prophesied Trump would be a trumpet, the reason you don't see like a full video, like you hear him saying Trump will be a trumpet, and then you see lights, and then you see my dad, is because the camera guy at the church that day had not taken the cap off the camera. And so when my dad started prophesying, he realized it was all audio, and he pulled it off, but he pulled it off right in time. That at that moment, you see the lights, and then you see my dad saying, Trump will be a trumpet. So it's pretty incredible how that happened. But we don't have video for everything, but we do have documentation of him prophesying. And I am a witness to what happened to him when he broke his wrists and all of that was going on. And that's where it started. So I'm putting together a YouTube video on just Iran. And that's the plan. What did he prophesy about Iran? Every time he said it, I can go in our prophecy database. Anybody watching can go there now too. You just go to kimclement.com or houseofdestiny.org, go to the prophecy database. You can do a keyword search. So if you want to know Iran, you just put in Iran, and every time he said the word Iran is going to pull up each date, and you guys know, you've been in the database. And if you partner with us, we have an upgraded version of it. So anybody who can do that, I encourage partnering, because it's not expensive, and it gives you the school of the prophets. We do extra, like every week we do extra little mini broadcasts for our partners, but the upgraded database is in there where you actually have the video right there. So you have the transcript, and you have the video, and you have the link to the original broadcast, because people need context. Yeah, right. Those broadcasts are like 2 hours long, usually about 2 hours. And so we're just taking the prophecy because we want to be able to share quickly or show people what he prophesied. But we have it available that you can go and watch from the beginning to the end of each of those broadcasts, or maybe it was a meeting, or maybe it was a concert in Israel, or whatever he was doing. We have the full recordings of those, and that is available as well. And then you can understand, because sometimes he'll talk about what he's prophesied. Sometimes he'll preach about it. Incredible things used to happen. Prophetic things used to happen in those meetings. And so I'm going to go in that database this week and just look up Iran. And I've actually already started doing this, but it's a lot. So it's taking a while to get, because I've got to read it, and then I've got to find the date in our server, and I've got to download that video. Then I've got to cut the part that I need where he prophesied. So it takes a long time to do it, but I should have it done within the week. And then we could, we're going to be on Code Breakers. I do Code Breakers live on Sundays, is where we kind of analyze that kind of stuff. And I'll start sharing it on there once I've done that. But what we have is we have a warning that Russia will join hands with Iran. That's communism and Islamism. Someone who's been really vocal about this for years is Glenn Beck. Glenn Beck knows nothing about my dad or his prophecies that I know. Maybe he knows, but sometimes Glenn Beck it's an unexpected source, but sometimes Glenn Beck will actually be reporting on stuff or talking about stuff, and the way that he says things will be like an announcement of a prophecy being fulfilled. It's incredible the way that works. There's something about Glenn Beck. So I watch Glenn every day because of that. There's something. I know he's a Mormon, but I think he's a Mormon because he married a Mormon. And I don't actually have a problem with Mormons. I don't agree with them, but Mormons are actually usually really nice people, and they're kind of more open to prophecy. You'll find there's some Christians are completely closed to it. They don't believe in it at all. In the New Testament prophets.
Yeah.
It's interesting. God's bringing all kinds of different people from different walks together to bring forth messages. And so, yeah, I watch him. I tune into him occasionally too, Donne. I wanted to get back to the beginning of our conversation. This kind of been weighing on my heart. You talked about the harvest when we were talking about the harvest, and you said that really resonated with you. And you said you felt the shift at the beginning of the year. We all felt it too. And friends of ours felt it. It was definitely supernatural. Like we just felt this shift. And even though the world is crazy right now in so many different ways, I do believe like there's this sense of not just a revival, it's greater than that that's coming. And, we talk about the harvest, but your dad, he prophesied about 2027. And I always come back to that prophecy. You and I have discussed it a lot. I want to show a clip of it, but then I also want to talk about it because you can't make up. He talks specifically about the year 2027. Well, this is 2026, and it's the 250th anniversary of 1776. Yeah. And there's definitely a spirit attached with that of freedom, of liberty, of, I don't know, it's just, it feels good, even in the midst of this chaos. Yeah. And so I don't know, there's just something very special about this year and then leading into what your dad saw, because he didn't, correct me if I'm wrong, but he didn't really prophesy specific dates a lot, did he?
Never. He was not a person who would, and I don't even know why. I just realized it. He wasn't a date setter. And I think the reason for that is that because we have a choice, and every single one of us have a choice, God can show you a result, but the process of getting there or exactly when that happens is given to us as a choice. Right. That's the difference between Christianity and, let's say, Islam. It's a good example right now. We understand as Christians, and this is why Western civilization works, is that it has to be a choice. We have to have separation of church and state, not because we don't want it, but because it can end up being an Iranian regime, which isn't even the same as all Islam. I'm not saying because,
yeah,
dad of Saudi Arabia, I don't know if I should even say this, of Saudi Arabia, he said, Mecca, that cursed stone will be smashed to pieces.
Oh.
And then he said, I say this respectfully. I think he was probably realized what he had said in the moment. Like,
yeah, that's where they do their pilgrimage, right? To Mecca. And then there's that big stone that they kiss.
That's the stone. It is a black stone that they built that block building around, and they've got the thing that the fabric that hangs over it, and they all walk around it, and there's the pilgrimage. Every Muslim in their life, if they can, is supposed to do a pilgrimage to Mecca. And the thing about it is, people say they think it's a meteorite.
Oh yeah, I've heard that.
And before Islam, it was there, and it used to be worshipped under a different name. I forget the name of the god, but I saw a guy do a video not long ago where he did a study, and he was saying how it was Baal, the spirit of Baal. He was a Christian, and he pointed out certain things in the Quran that he'd read and then from the Bible, and I can't replicate what he did, but it was really eye-opening to me because my dad had kept prophesying about when he would refer to Allah, he called it Baal Allah.
Yeah.
Allah.
It's interesting.
And so he was connecting that ancient, and look at the stuff that we see around us. Baal was child sacrifice, blood sacrifice. Those things keep popping up in the background, yes, and in the in the conspiracy circles, and you'll hear that. But it's because it's that spirit manifesting. And my dad put the connection of Baal, Allah, and Nimrod. And there's the one prophecy where it's actually scary because he was my dad and I used to be a little kid, and if he shouted, I was in trouble. When he prophesies this, every time I kind of go like this, because he talks about the giants, and he says, and they're knocking at your door, and the way he shouts it, and he knocks on the piano. And because he was seeing how everyone's looking this way, and you need to be paying attention to giants. And those giants are ancient. It's very ancient stuff going on here. Even the region of Iran, if you think about like Daniel, Babylon, all of those things in that region, that spirit, like the octopus imagery I was talking about, grips it. And so, last year, it was Trump's first year, and there were a lot of people getting frustrated because we're not seeing arrests. We're not seeing enough of the Epstein files. Although personally, I don't want to see the Epstein files.
Right.
Yeah.
I just want to know that whoever committed crimes is arrested for those crimes.
Right.
This obsession with the files, every time I see something about it, I'm grossed out. I don't even want to. But anyway, but like you were saying at the beginning of this year, you felt that acceleration, and it was like all of a sudden everything's happening at once.
Yeah.
All this stuff is happening at once. Like they just dumped all that Epstein stuff. Everybody's freaking out.
Yeah.
Because there's so many conspiracies. Like I was telling you guys earlier, I'm pulling back and just waiting a minute because all the theories are everywhere and it's so confusing. Yes. But that spirit is attached to that as well.
Yeah.
If you look at the connection of what kind of stuff they were getting up to. And it's all connecting. But you were talking about 2027, and the thing that I keep seeing this. My dad was seeing healing.
Yes, I love
cures and healing for these diseases. I think he might have said blindness that day. I know he saw the blindness thing, and there's just a thing come out of I think it's Israel, where they have found a way to cure. No, it was Elon Musk. They found a way to restore sight. It was Elon Musk using AI. And I know a lot of people are scared of that, but
it can be used for good or bad. Yeah.
Right.
It's happening anyway. It's like, we're not going to be able to stop the beast system.
Right.
We're not going to be able to stop the war of Gog and Magog. We're not going to be able to stop the tribulation. We can't exactly predict it, although we can be aware of the times and recognize what's happening to us and say, okay, we're in that time. That's what my dad ultimately said in the end. He was saying, it is the end times, but it's not yet the end of time.
Yeah.
And so there's these things that God is going to do before. And one of them is the Jesus revolution, like you were saying.
Yes.
A revival like nothing we've ever seen. He wept when he spoke of it. And the healing for autism, Alzheimer's, diabetes, neurological disorders, cancer. He said cancer will be a disease of the past. I don't think he said very much about it on the 2027 prophecy that you're talking about, but he did around that time. That was another thing, that he had a vision of a man dying on a bed, and they said, this is the last person who will ever die of cancer. And we are starting to see all kinds of information coming out now.
Yes.
That yes, God will heal miraculously, but that isn't all my dad saw. He saw cures, that there will be diseases of the past, and the revival as we have never seen. He said you could take all the revivals, put them all together in one, and it'll still not match what we're going to see. The move of God that will happen before his son returns.
Yeah. And he said in one of his words, he was talking about how like he's going to restrain his son until the church basically reaches the level they need to be at. And Lance Wallno preaches on this a lot. He comes back for a strong church, not a weak church. And so he's like, we're not there yet. Like we're somewhere there, but we're not there yet. And so a lot of your dad's stuff talks about like, warriors basically rising up, and it looks different than it looks right now. Not saying that there's not a lot of strong warriors right now, but there's more work to be done. But there's just something about this revived spirit. And I always come back to the 250th anniversary and look at what we accomplished to get our liberty and freedom. We literally toppled a giant. Yes. And I just really feel like that just keeps getting highlighted as far as like the timing of where we're at and what that looks like. And, I was looking at an article on CBN News, and they were talking about how it is the most persecuted the church has ever been in history. We don't feel that here in America, but look at Nigeria.
Yeah. The Nigerians are having a bit of a rough time over there.
Yes.
And you saw Trump did do something.
On Christmas Day, yeah, he bombed the terrorists, and but they're still at it again today. Another article was out. I think 160 some more were killed, and so it's like nonstop over there. But it's globally, it's the most persecuted globally that it has ever been in history, and people miss that because we're over here in America. It's not that bad, but it's crazy. So things are amping up.
But that's because we are. Look, America, there's nothing like it.
Yeah.
And that's because of the foundation that it is on, which is Judeo-Christian. And that whole mindset is free and free.
Free.
Christians understand, I was saying this earlier, Christians understand that you can't force it or it's not real. So you can try to pretend and live under Sharia law, and what'll end up happening is suffering, imprisonment, and slaughter. And even when Christians have historically tried to force Christianity, it doesn't work because God wants us to choose him.
Yeah.
He wants us to choose him.
Right.
Think of Job. Someone brought this up to me yesterday. It was Christy. Though he slay me, yet I will praise him. And the story of Job is a really good way to look at that. He was being tested and everything, but God wants to see that, like, no matter what, I'm going to choose you and I'm going to trust you no matter what is going on around me. And so, we're witnessing that across the globe right now. Christians suffering. We knew this would come. We knew that this would come. But that's why I'm so grateful for instance, just the Trump administration right now, that they're at least trying to do something. And it is bringing awareness to what is actually going on, because many have been deceived. Yeah. They go around saying, Islam is the religion of peace. And the white Christians, everything being made about race, and it actually has nothing to do with race.
Right.
Right.
But that's the way it's being categorized. Oh, they're the bad guys. And there's this religious spirit that's very pious and very awful. And we've seen that religious spirit before, even in Christianity through time. But when you don't have Christ, you end up with an Ayatollah and a bunch of nutcases wanting to build a nuclear weapon and bomb us because they call us the Great Satan.
Right.
There's nothing peaceful about that. And that's why you don't see any of these progressive and leftists that are all, deceived about it. They won't say anything about the Iranian people, because then they would have to acknowledge that how dangerous Islam is. Oh, we want to live under Sharia law. Do you? I'm looking at these poor Iranian girls being blinded and beaten and killed if their hijab comes off their head.
Yeah. Right. If a piece of hair sticks out.
In Afghanistan, they've just legalized slavery again, and women are no longer by law allowed to speak to each other.
Yeah.
They don't want women speaking anymore.
Well, look at Iran itself. They have no way to protect themselves, but they are willing to risk death because it's so bad. They're dying by the thousands, and they're willing to risk it to topple this regime because it's that bad. Like, they finally reached their breaking point where they're like, I would rather die than be under you anymore. I mean, that's desperation, and that's how bad it is.
Well, and all of this too, and I don't know, Donne, how much you know about this history, but the correlation of this with Hitler and Jonathan Kahn. I know Jen was reading Jonathan Kahn's one of his books that came out talking about Hitler making a pact with Islam in some way, right, Jen? Is that
Yeah. He was actually directly connected with the Muslim Brotherhood, like the creation of it.
The
Right.
creation
And
of
so people don't know that. Yeah, Jonathan
Yasser
Kahn.
Arafat.
Yes.
Yasser Arafat was a little bit Hitler, but more the Soviet Union. I was just watching a video on that this morning. That he was trained by the Soviet Union, and he was the PLO, the Palestinian guy after the 1940 or 1967 war. Do you know that my grandmother was in Israel during the 1967 war? She was a South African.
Wow.
She went with her father. I wasn't born yet, obviously. My mother was a kid, and she had left her at home. But she went with my great-grandfather, her father, to Israel. She wanted to ask the rabbis about the Jubilee. And she was running around Jerusalem trying to speak to the rabbis about the Jubilee year. She had a thing about that Jubilee year. And they wouldn't speak to her because she was a woman. And then the next thing, the 1967 war broke out, and they had to hide in a bomb shelter, or she had to hide. I don't know the details.
Wow.
She actually passed away 50 days after my dad, which is interesting because that's another Jubilee is 50.
Yes.
And that was hard on my mom. She lost my dad and then her mom, so my grandmother, her mom. But there's in our family, there is this sort of little thread woven through. And the further back you go, the more connected you see it all is. But yeah, we were talking about Islam and Hitler. And that is where you see that anti-Semitism really begin to grow within the Middle Eastern nations, where you might have had animosity between these groups, but not like it is now.
Yeah.
Not when you have Iran and that regime calling Israel the little Satan and America's the great Satan. And it is in their constitution that every drop of Jewish blood must be gone from the earth. And everyone converted to Islam, and then the great Imam will return. And now not all of them believe this. The Saudi Arabians, the Sunnis don't believe that. Or maybe they do, but they're not like all into it like the Iranian regime is. And so that's where you have a very, very dangerous religion taken to a very dangerous extreme. And they actually have control, religious control over the laws of that country. There's no freedom. And look, you know them by their fruits. What is the fruit of that? And now what is the fruit of America?
Yeah.
And that tells you everything you need to know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because there's bad people and good people in all of these places.
Absolutely.
Good and bad people and good and evil. That's all of us.
Well, and there's such a divide right now. There's a spirit behind all of this as well, but it's a spirit of division amongst God's people too, because now you have people like it always comes back to Israel. Are we pro-Israel? Are we anti-Israel? And so even amongst, very prominent voices on the right, there's a divide with that very thing right now. And it always comes back.
Tucker has greatly disappointed me.
Yeah.
Because you can look at video of Tucker like 3 or 4 years ago saying the exact opposite of what he's saying right now. And I don't know if it's money. I think some of these people are being threatened. I don't know about Tucker. I think Tucker, if you remember, Tucker had that experience where the demon scratched him.
Yes, we talked about that. Yeah.
I think it was the anti-Semitic demon, because he's actually at this point making a fool of himself over this. And you wonder what is going on. And I just use that as an example because that's an easy one. But that is definitely a divide. So it's the anti-Semitism. This goes along with what my dad prophesied about the Fourth Reich, because it's not partisan. It's on the left and it's on the right. And the fruit of it is never good. You can't just say the Jews are secretly controlling the world. And there's no evidence of that, because they're not doing very good at it if they are. I mean, everybody is against them. You have the UN who won't even acknowledge the truth of what's going on, especially with Gaza, that the way that it has been presented and dealt with is so, you wouldn't see that with any other group of people. You wouldn't see people saying, okay, there's 4 people that have done something bad, whatever it is. And one of them's Italian, one of them's, African, and one of them's Jewish. What you're going to get is, oh, the Jews did it. It's like,
Right.
it's just a Jew there. Like, of course we know you're going to have Jewish people that are bad.
Right.
Bad Jewish people all through the Bible, as well as good. Good and evil isn't so it's irrational to do this Jew blaming for everything.
Right.
And treat Gaza the way they've treated it, which is to portray Israel as genocidal, when what are they supposed to do? Because all the money that Hamas has gotten and that region has gotten since Israel gave them that land back, they just said, fine. And instead of building, what is the fruit? Instead of building something, they building something for the people to make their country beautiful and prosperous. They built tunnels underground so they could go and kill the Jews.
Right.
My dad prophesied that before it was discovered. The tunnel system under the ground there is enormous.
Yeah.
And I guess people just think they're supposed to just stand there and say, okay, come kill us. Yeah,
Right.
okay, from the river to the sea, we'll just go into the sea and die.
Mhm.
I mean, what do you expect? It's the same thing with what's happening in Iran right now.
Well, that's why there's a spirit behind it. There's no logic in a lot of these arguments. Again, there's good and bad. And I'm not saying that there's not good and bad Jews too. There's good and bad, like you said, in every single nation. And I'm sure, we do know that there's this group of cabal people who, ultimately do basically hate humanity and want to elevate themselves. And I'm sure they're from all different nations. But, overall, yeah, there is not a lot of logic behind the arguments that I hear anyway on when I'm watching podcasts, when people are arguing this point. And then you read your Bible too. Romans talks about, God, yes. And people always go back to the argument, well, the Jews helped persecute Jesus. Well, yeah, they did.
But Jesus was also a Jew himself.
But he was a Jew, absolutely. And so it talks about, them being blinded for the fruition of the Gentiles to come in, the fruit of them to come in and be grafted in. And I mean, there's actually some blinding going on, but you have a lot waking up now, especially after they became a nation again. You have a lot of Messianic Jews and other people waking up. And so, and it says that he's going to, embrace them again. And he's, he loves them. And so that's his promise. That's where he's coming back. Yeah.
My dad prophesied a lot about the Messianic Jew.
Yeah, and you're seeing a lot of that more than I think ever right now.
Yeah, Sarfati is a great example. He's a Messianic Jew, and he is, I mean, if you want to learn, he's got a really good perspective on what's happening in Iran right now. I recommend Amir Sarfati to anybody who's interested, because he also deals with eschatology. He's not really a New Testament prophet kind of guy. I don't know what he believes with that or any connection to my dad. I just know he's good. He knows what he's talking about, and he teaches it really well. And so, you can't sort of blindly say, well, because people will say, well, the Israeli government is what we don't like. Well, there's things in the American government we don't like, but you don't see that kind of prejudice happening.
Right.
Or it's the Mossad. Well, what about our CIA? What's the difference?
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like we're seeing this everywhere.
It tells you it's a spirit, because it's not normal to say, oh, that whole group of people. I mean, Israelis too are not only Jews, and there's a lot of Jewish people who are not religious who live in Israel. Right. And so then your arguments get very thin when you're asking an entire nation of people to just stand there and allow themselves to be killed.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
If they defend themselves, it's genocide. And what a genocide is what we just saw happening in Iran.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, good point.
I mean, 2 days, they killed tens of thousands of their own people who were unarmed. It's not like they were armed and they were having the IRGCs defending them. No, these are unarmed kids.
But all mainstream media wants to talk about is, why is Trump getting us into war? Not about the 40,000 people being slaughtered. Yeah.
I mean, the Grammys, nobody even acknowledged what happened.
Exactly.
This tells me it's a spirit.
It is. That's exactly right. It is spiritual because it makes no sense. And Oh, Donne. Well, you know what's so funny is I think you were just meant to talk about the things you were meant to talk about today, because I had all these clips.
I can always come back. I need to have you come on my show sometime. You guys need to come.
We would love that.
Yes.
We would
We would love to.
It is, but
because then whatever
it is
I'm looking at
amazing.
that week, I can have you guys get help with commentary and insight, because that does help me. Because I do sometimes I get like so busy, and then it's like I need someone else's voice around here.
Well, we would be honored, Donne,
Yes.
to come on your show and to have you back on as well, because, you know, it's always God's plan, though. We always pray over these podcasts, Lord, let your will be done. What do you want to come out? Because there's so much stuff. So I have 7 clips here, but you know what?
Any of them. There's too much happening in the world this week. I'll come back.
Yes, you'll have to come back, and I really want to talk about
what you had. And it's very good and very, very interesting what you had. I know we touched a little bit on some of it. We didn't actually get to see the video.
That's okay. That's okay, because this is God orchestrated this the way He did today for a reason, and that's the blessing of your friendship, Donne. We can have you come back, and we really want to talk about Pythos with you too, because that's been a big one as well. Yes. Your dad talked a lot about Pythos, the spirit of Pythos.
Yes, the spirit of Pythos. That's right. He did a lot.
And witchcraft and different things. We've been getting a little bit on that as well. But yeah, it's just, there's so much happening, but I think our focus needed to be on the Middle East today and everything that you said. So again, sadly, I do have to close this down because we're out of time, but in closing though, I would love you to tell everybody where they can watch your shows and to learn more. Because everybody, you've got to go here. This is my go-to. When I want to watch something, I go to House of Destiny. I love you guys.
Yes, houseofdestiny.org. You can see it at the bottom of the screen, or kimclement.com will take you to the same place. And also we're on YouTube and Rumble and X and Facebook and Instagram. So you can find us there. Search Kim Clement or House of Destiny. And all of our shows, every day of the week, we have something. So on Sundays, I go live. I do Code Breakers live on Sundays. Mondays, we do Prophetic Rewind, where we're playing old footage of my dad that we've been able to get digitized, and our partners help us do that. And so we have a whole new partner program, and those who partner with us have access behind the scenes to a partner area of our website, where we've got an upgraded prophecy database. We've got the School of the Prophets, where my dad did a whole long teaching on the prophetic from the perspective of someone who was actually prophesying. And it's incredible. That's available on there. And so those who partner with us, you can, or anybody who's interested can join that. But also, you know, Wednesdays we do analysis, Christy and I. Fridays, Doobie Sabo does Israel Update with Christy, gives us updates from the ground. Saturdays, we have church with Fa. So we've got something every day of the week. And Tuesday nights, that's the newer thing we've been doing, is the Gathering of the Dangerous Prayer. And we go live and just from the chat on multiple platforms at once, we all pray together. And it's been very powerful. We're getting incredible testimonies. And it's just a beautiful time, just an hour every Tuesday night from 7 to 8 Central Time. You can join us to pray there, but and just keep track of everything, because as soon as anything happens, we've got a whole team of people on it, and we are making sure, number one, people get to at least hear the prophecies. Yeah. And as long as they get a chance to hear it, that's a promise, that's hope. It's something to hold on to in a very dark time where it's really difficult to see. These prophecies have been like a light. And so you can, you know, by simply going to the website, you will find everything you need.
Perfect. Well, Donne, it's always an honor and privilege. Thank you so much for being with us and agreeing to come back. And we're just really excited to have you. We always learn so much. And like I said, we just let the Spirit of God lead us. And you just are such a wealth of knowledge, and your anointing to continue to share your dad's words and let us know what time we're in is crucial during this time for those that have eyes to see and ears to hear. So thank you from the bottom of our heart. We just love having you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for tuning in today. Jordan, thank you for joining as well. I love hosting Morning Star Revelation. And for anybody who doesn't know, Jordan and I, we have our own channel on YouTube, Morning Star Revelation, where we're going to be jointly co-hosting and doing interviews like the one we just did with Donne. And we just ask you guys if you would just hit like and subscribe, and please share this content, and that would be such a blessing for us. So Jordan, thank you so much again for being here.
Thank you, Jen.
All right, everybody. We hope this segment blesses you. And until next time, we'll see you back on Morning Star Revelation.